Hello, everyone, and thank you for attending. Today, I will be presenting an analysis of Meddicorp's 2003 sales data. The focus of this project is to evaluate how advertising bonuses and regional differences influence sales across companies' territories. Using multiple regression models in SPSS, this study aims to provide clear insights that can guide Meddicorp's management decisions. These are our team members, and yeah. So Meddicorp is a medical supply company operating across three major US regions, the Southwest, Southwest, and Midwest. Each region contains several sales territories, which form the basis of our analysis. In 2003, the company introduced a new bonus program designed to improve sales performance. Management now wants to understand whether bonuses actually contribute to higher sales and how advertising and regional differences factor into the overall performance. The goals of this project are fourfold. First, to determine whether bonuses are significantly related to sales. Second, to measure the effect of advertising expenditures. Third, to evaluate whether regional differences play a meaningful role in sales performance. And finally, to use these insights to build and compare multiple regression models that explain Medicorp's sales patterns. This analysis focuses on several key research questions. Are bonuses associated with higher sales? Does advertising effectively increase sales outcomes? Do South, West, and Midwest regions differ in their baseline sales performance? And which model best captures the drivers of Medicorp sales? And these questions sort of guide the structure of the analysis that follows. Uh, So to describe the data set includes 25 randomly selected sales territories from across Medicorp's three main regions. The main variables include the sales, which is measured in thousands of dollars, ADV, that is the amount spent on advertising in hundreds of dollars, and bonus, the amount paid in bonuses, also in hundreds of dollars. The region variables distinguishes South, West, and Midwest. To incorporate regions into the regression models, two dummy variables are used, D1 for Midwest and D2 for West, with South serving as the reference category. Moving on to our data exploration.
Yes, and I believe I'm explaining the data exploration, so we'll get started with that. For the next slide, yes. So we found that there was a strong positive relationship between sales and advertising, that they did increase simultaneously together. And conversely, there was a weak yet positive relationship between sales and bonuses. So, and as well as that the Midwest leads in for the region sales performance. Um, so for the visual analysis, we created two plots for both the sales as well as bonuses, or the yeah for both of those two. And we found that the spending on advertising increases, sales also increases. So they have that positive relationship with most data points falling very close to that trend line. Conversely, while sales generally increases with the bonuses, the data points are widely scattered, indicating that there is a relationship that is not as strong as advertisement for bonuses, but is less, so it is less of a reliable predictor for sales compared to the advertising. Furthermore, we found that the Midwest sector outperforms the West as well as South regions, with the highest media sales, and also that the Midwest exhibits the most variability of all of the three regions.
So moving on to building our first model. The first model examines the relationship between sales, advertising, and bonuses without considering the regional effects. The fitted equation shows that both advertising and bonuses have positive effects on sales. Advertising is highly significant, and bonuses are also significant at the cutoff of 5%. The model explains about 85.5% of variation in sales, indicating a strong baseline relationship. In practical terms, for every additional $100 that Meddicorp spends on advertising, sales increase by approximately $2,473. Similarly, every additional $100 paid in bonuses corresponds to a $1,856 increase in sales. So both the predictors appear meaningful at this stage. This model suggests that the financial incentives and marketing efforts are indeed associated with increased sales performance and territories. So, why do we need to add the regional indicators? So, although Model 1 performs well, it does not account for possible regional differences. Market conditions and customer demographics may vary across Medicorp's regions, and these differences could influence sales independently of advertising or bonuses. To capture these variations, we need to introduce two regional dummy variables, D1 for Midwest and D2 for West, using the South as a reference category. This allows the model to estimate the separate baseline sales levels for each region. So we built the second model. When the regional dummy variables are added, the model improves substantially. In model 2, advertising remains highly significant. The bonus coefficient decreases and becomes marginally non-significant. The Midwest region shows a very large and significant increase in the sales relatively to the South, while the West region does not differ significantly. Importantly, Model 2 explains nearly 95% of the variation in sales, a major improvement over Model 1. So these are the separate regional equations. So these coefficients help us understand the baseline differences across the territories. Midwest territories um, averaged nearly 258,000 more in sales than compared to the territories in the South. And the West region shows a smaller increase of about $48,000, but this difference is not statistically significant. These findings indicate that the regional structure plays an important role in explaining sales variations. So, using the two model coefficients, we can write three separate regression equations, one for each region. The slopes for advertising and bonuses remain the same, but the intercept shifts depending on the region. Midwest has the highest baseline sales level, followed by West and then the South. So this makes it clear how regional differences translate into practical differences in predicting sales outcomes.
Thank you. Now moving on to model 3, we have the reduced model from our nested F test, and we have this equation right in front of us. We use the advertising predictor variable, including and also the D1 variable. So some key results that we found include that advertising shows a strong positive and statistically significant effect on sales, with P value being like very significant. And Midwest shows higher sales than South. And the model has an R-square value of 0.927, which means that the model explains 92.7% of the variance. And every additional $100 spent on advertising generate $2,473 in sales. And for bonuses, every $100 spent on bonus gives out $1,856 in sales directly. Now moving on to the next slide. For the final model, we have the regression equation right in front of us. So we used all the predictor variables, and the results that we found include uh, advertising showing a strong, like very significant relationship on sales, and Midwest shows higher sales than South again. And the bonus shows positive, but not like very strong effect. The model has an R-square value of 0.947, explaining 94.7% of variance, and every additional $100 spent on advertising generate $2,473 in sales, and every $100 spent on bonuses generate 1,856 $56 in sales. Now moving to the next slide. So we have like a quick comparison of all the values for all of our models, with Model 2 and Model 4 showing very similar values. And yeah, just a quick recap of all the results that we got. Now moving on to model assumptions.
Okay, yes, for the model assumptions, we first checked for normality. So for the Meddicorp regression, we checked whether the residuals are approximately normally distributed, since that supports the valid inference of the p-values and confidence intervals. For the PP plots, the residual points track closely along the diagonal line, which you can see right there, which suggests that the residuals follow a normal pattern pretty well. The histogram and standardized residuals are roughly symmetric and bell-shaped, and as well as centered for the mean to be zero. So there are no obvious extreme tails or heavy skews that would raise any concerns, which means overall that the normality assumptions look pretty reasonable. This also strengthens our confidence in the model's statistical conclusions. So for the next slide on homoscedasticity, so now we checked whether the residuals have a constant spread across the model's predicted sales values. In the residuals versus predicted plots, the points show a consistent vertical spread with no funneling or widening. That supports the homoscedasticity, meaning that the model's error variance is stable across the low and high predictions. The residuals also look randomly scattered with no cluster or pattern. You can see it's pretty random. So this supports the independence, meaning that errors are not systematically related across observations. This is because these assumptions hold, and the model's standard errors and significant tests are more trustworthy because of that. So we'll go on to the next slide to discuss linearity. So the linear regression assumes that predictors have roughly linear relationships with Medcorp sales. The advertising versus sales scatter plot shows a clear upward trend. So the linear relationship is in fact a good fit there. The bonuses versus sales plot, however, also shows a positive linear relation trend, even though it is a bit more spread. But importantly, neither plots show a strong curvature, which would suggest that the needed nonlinear model, that like we didn't need the nonlinear model. So the linearity assumption is supported because of this, and it makes the coefficients more interpretable, which is expected, which as expected, the changes in sales and advertising or bonuses increase.
Okay, so now we'll talk about outliers, high leverage values, and multicollinearity that we found in our final model. For outliers, oh, next slide. So we basically just wanted to check if there were any values that could have an extreme effect on the regression results. So we first look at outliers. We checked for outliers using the standardized residuals. Because none of the residuals exceeded ±3, which is the normal range for outliers, that we come to the conclusion that there are no extreme outliers in this model. Next slide. So for high leverage values, there are actually two ways that we look at this. The first that we will look at are high leverage values for points that are in the predictors. And we can see that we do have a observation 25 that has a high leverage value of 0.37272. Um, and then that's still below the threshold that there usually is set for high leverage values, which is zero point 0.6. So that means that that point doesn't have a significant impact on the results of the regression. And then we also look at Cook's distance, which is on the right. And so that has a value of 0.986, which is close to 1, which is close to the threshold. So we ran another regression just excluding that value, which was observation 25, and we saw that there was not really a significant difference between the R squared value. So we decided that that point doesn't really have much of an impact on regression results anyways. Next slide. And then lastly, we wanted to check for multicollinearity to see if there was any relationship between independent values or independent variables in our model. So we assessed the multicollinearity and we generated VIF and tolerance values. All the VIF values were below 5 for each predictor, and the threshold for that is 10. So that means that there is not really any multicollinearity. The closest we see is with the bonus predictor. And tolerance values are above were all above 0.1. So that confirms that multicollinearity is not an issue in this model. And so our final conclusion is that we can look at all of the models that we've created, and our final model kind of confirms that regional indicators play a big role in assessing whether or not Meddicorp will have successful sales in that year. And so looking at all of this together, combined with advertising budget and um, bonuses that are paid, gives us a good idea about where Medicor stands in terms of scalability and their sales in the future. And so this can help inform our strategy. And this is very, very well researched, and our goal is to boost immediate sales, and we can do that by learning about the predictors that we found and model for.